What up, everybody? It's your girl July from Kickback Couture. Today we're going to be mixing this beat. It's going to be basic, not too complicated for beginners. Let's just get straight into it. Let's start with the loudest part of the track, the part of the track that includes the most instruments. In my case, that's going to be the chorus. So I'm going to loop that section. And what I like to do is pull all my faders down, select all of these, and pull my volume down. And from here, I'm going to order these tracks. So I'm going to put my drums on the left side and leave my instruments on the right. And I'll also make sure to organize everything while I'm doing this. So right now, here's my kick. I have snare A, snare B, and this is the bass. I can't see this, so I'm going to change it to like a lighter purple color. And I'm going to put my bass on the other side of the kick. And this is just how I like to organize it. You can organize your drums however you would like to. Clap, snare A, snare B, hi-hat. This is a percussion sound, so I'm going to name this percussion or just perks. I got two risers here. I'm going to put these risers at the end. These are just transition effects. And then I have my instruments here, keys, plucks. This is a string or a horn sound. So I'm going to color this orange. I want to color all of my drums gray for now, or I'll keep the burgundy color. And then these two are horns. I'm going to color these orange. This is a pad sound. I'm going to bring this over here with the keys and plucks. And then I'll leave the two risers red. And I'm going to start with my kick and my bass. So I start with the low end because the kick and the bass set the heartbeat of the song. So I like to establish the presence of those first. Now, in terms of where I mix my kick, I don't necessarily have a set number value where I mix my kick, but we can set one for the purpose of this video. So if we go back into the rack, we can see a big meter in the hardware interface section. And right now, give or take, the kick is about -8 on the VU meter. So that's where I would recommend you mix your kick if you're following along with this video. Let's add that bass in. I want this bass to sit lower than the kick. Whoops. Let me deselect the kick. I could always bring it up later if I want to. But that sounds like a good vibe. Let's mix this clap in now. This is where I'll start adding in reverb. So I'm just going to use the synths that were in the template, the Reason 13 template. Actually, these are slightly different. This is a small room reverb. It's just a RV7 digital reverb. And we could go ahead and add another synth effect. I'm going to add a different reverb. Let's go into Reason Library, Reason Factory Sounds, RV7000 MK2 patches. And I want to find I use this live room preset. See what this sounds like on the snare. Let's turn off 1 and turn on 5 for a second. Okay. We can even mix the two. Now, in terms of the volume of my clap or my snare in relation to my kick, sometimes I like them even, sometimes I like the clap to be below. This sounds fine for now. Let's move on to the next snare. Another thing I like to check with the claps and the main snares are the low end. So I'll come up to my EQ here and I'll pull a high pass filter on, because we don't need those sub frequencies there. They're not necessarily sub frequencies, but they're below the most resonant parts, the most prominent parts of this clap. So I just cut it off. And you can tell when you start going too far. So you can pull it far and then bring it back. Whatever feels comfortable to you. All right, let's add the next drum in. This is a layer. So I can bring the gain up here if I want to mix it in a bit more. Maybe solo these for a second, see how they blend. Gonna pull up this EQ, cut out some of the low end here, but not too much. Blend in some of the same reverb. Just adjusting this bass a little bit, and I'll adjust it again when I listen in my monitors. Let's add this percussion in. Sometimes I jump around a little bit. This sounds cool. I want to add some panning to this, so I'm going to jump to the rack. I have halftime on this already. There are a couple different ways to pan this within Reason. You got this pan CV option here on the mixer channel. So I'm just going to use a utility. It'll be a Reason utility called Pulsar. We'll just use this one. And then we'll send the CV up to the pan. And now we can control the rate of the pan. Tempo sync is on. And let's try 1/4. And we'll solo this for a second. Bring the level up so it pans more drastically. Let me make sure I have my headphones on the right way. I'm good. Okay, let's add a little bit of reverb to this. Maybe this reverb. Reverse quarter reverb. And this reverb is RV7000 preset. Now I have some automation running on this fader, which is why it's cool that we also have this gain knob here. Let's add the hi-hat in. Add a little bit of reverb. And you can preview these and see which one you like. This one is delay. We'll keep that hi-hat mostly dry. Here's the next snare. Actually sounds good. Let's check this for low end. Most snares have their fundamental frequency around 200 to 250 hertz. So that's a good point for where you could cut. Now that I have all of these drums playing with my bass and this is my rhythm section, I could start panning things. So let's mute some things real quick and let's just go back to the kick, clap, and the bass. These are usually sounds that you want straight up the middle, give or take. Sometimes people pan the clap a little bit, but when we start adding in our extra layers, we could experiment with the panning. Probably wouldn't be anything too drastic. Now with this sound, I prefer it to just be right in the middle because it's a layer under this, and I don't have anything to counter it if I pan it left or right. So I'm gonna leave it in the middle. Let's see about this one. Could pan this to the left a bit. Now when you pan things, it's gonna sound louder, so you might have to adjust the volume to compensate, or to make up for the volume that you added. Hi-hat, let's pan this to the right since we panned our snare to the left. Turn that down. Pull this down again. And now I'm going to take a break to listen to my monitors because sometimes my headphones aren't the best reference and I just like to check multiple places. Sounds pretty good to me. Let's start adding these instruments in. Now I'm gonna pull this down and I'm gonna start with these keys because I know this is the main sound I wanna start with. So I'm gonna start with the main chord progression sound. Now these sounds already have reverb on them, but if I want, I can add more reverb. Now that's the trick with using some rack extension sounds in general. They have their own effects units on them. So if you go and look at the face or the plate of the devices, you can see like this one, reverb, delay is up. Black Sands, reverb and delay is up, but you can mix those in if you would like to. Here, let's move this to the top. So right now, it's got reverb and delay. I could turn those up. Could also blend it with what we already have. And the only reason I solo drums is so that I can, or solo any sounds, is so that I can hear the effects on them and the space they're being put in. But it is best to mix things all together. All right, let's add these next set of keys in. Now this is meant to be a sizzle layer. It's got that nice kind of 90s synth keys vibe. And that one, here I can delete this device, is located here. Let me make sure I only have this selected. So it doesn't have to be too loud, unless I want it to be. But I just want it to nicely complement what's there. Now, if I'm not mistaken, these two sounds aren't gonna play in this section. So let me check and see where I'm at. And if I'm not in a section where they play, I will loop around a section where they do. All right, cool. So this section plays the Celeste 95 sound. That could use some delay. Let's try. Yeah, that's good. Let's check that EQ on this to see how much low end we have on this sound. Looks pretty good. A lot of the avian sounds already have that low cut and high cut on them, so usually good to go, but it's nice to double check sometimes if you're not sure. Next up, we got this pad, which is in, I believe, the next section. So let's loop this part around. All right. I definitely want to cut out some low end on this. So I know I could use the EQ in the sequencer to add a high pass filter, but I can also do it here in Avian. But if it works for you visually, it's still an option. I would actually like to add some more width to this sound. So I'm gonna go to the rack and I'm going to drop down my mixer channel and I can see what's on it right now. It's got some width, it's got some chorus. That's cool. I'm gonna pull this chorus down a little bit and I want to use a plugin that isn't stock, but instead I'm going to look for a plugin that I know is free. And that is find in browser. That's not going to be it. Find device. I got to get used to this browser still. Okay. It's called Wider. And this is a free plugin. Let's move this up. And you can hear that being pushed out. Before. Volume down. Conversely, you could use something like Stereo Tool or the Stereo Imager. I'll let you hear what that sounds like in case you don't want to download any plugins. So that's at max. And this is a Stereo Imager. At max. At max. This is at max. It kind of sounds like it's losing some of the low end. This is at max. It just doesn't have the same body as wider. And of course, I didn't do it at max previously. It was about 153. I guess Stereo Tool has some similarities, so you could definitely use that, but I'm just gonna keep wider. All right, my next batch of sounds are these two strings. So let's go to where those are in the sequencer. Those are in the chorus. Loop around that section. Let's hear. Okay, let's add some reverb to that. Sounds so pretty. Not the ping pong delay, we don't need that. We won't add low density. I like the mix between this live room and small room. Small room kind of has this warmth to it. Just makes it sound like it's close to you, which is why the name is small room. With the live mix. All right, let's check this EQ here. I believe we have to cut off some low end here. Yeah, let's just cut a little bit. We still want it to have presence, but we don't need the hard transient because it's going to hit at the same time as the kick. And when the kick hits and other loud noises hit, it could cause, well, clipping. So let's make sure we're not too hard on that transient. Too loud anyways. We don't have to overdo this hit. All right, let's check on these strings here. Nice. Okay. Now that I have all these sounds at like, you know, a level I believe I like for now, you know, there's always revisions in a mix. Let's take these drums we have here and put them in a bus. I'm going to press Command G, or alternatively, you can right click, route to new output bus. This is my drum bus. And I'm going to take all of these instruments, same thing, and I'm just going to call it iBus. iBus for instrument bus. And let's solo the drum bus. And let's add this bass to the drum bus, because I'm going to process these all together, because they all encompass the low end in some capacity. And I'm going to add a compressor on here and a little bit of saturation. So the compressor I'm going to use is Reason Studios Master Bus Compressor. And I'm going to use a free saturation rack extension by Softtube. It's called Softtube Saturation Knob. There's the rack extension version. Let's check on this compression here. Now with the compression, I like to do from 0 to 3 decibels of compression. It's not going to stay at one number because the drums are dynamic. They're moving up and down. The volume isn't just steady. So for the attack, I'm going to have a fast attack, but not too fast. I don't want the compressor to act immediately because I want my transients to come through. This is one place where I do want my transients to hit because July like my drums to knock. The release time is going to be quick. And if you're listening in headphones, you probably heard what that did immediately versus when it was longer. Now our transients are dull. So slow down this attack. Quicken the release. And let's add some saturation. Let's try it on keep high for a second. Neutral. Keep low. Let's keep it subtle. And let's listen to the before and after. So in addition to getting louder, those transients hit a little bit harder and everything sounds more uniform. Now let's get into this I bus. Now for the instruments, we could do something crazy, we could do something simple. But since I said this video would be something beginners could comprehend, let's just do something simple and we'll do the same thing that we did to the other bus, which was the drum bus. So reason, let's hear this. So to the right, there will be no compression because we're bringing the threshold higher. On this one, to bring it lower, we're pulling to the left. We can keep the attack neutral, maybe bring the release down. I still want these transients to be sharp, just obviously not as sharp as the kick, but we don't have anything too transient heavy here anyway, so we don't have to worry about that. We can adjust the makeup gain here. Sometimes you just ride the knob until it sounds right. Come back and make changes the next day. Now, if you get to this point in the mix and it just doesn't sound right, that's okay. That's why we can go back and fix things. So right now, I want to mute these two string instruments, these horn and the string instrument. I feel like I'm not hearing my keys enough, so I'm going to pull those up. There we go. Just want to hear those better. And I could check this EQ. Maybe cut out a bit of the low end here. All right, let's check on these two risers, and then I'm going to check it in my monitors because I have a feeling I'm not going to like the level of the hi-hat. Let's find where this one is. Over here. That actually sounds fine. Let's listen again. Yep, it's not too distracting, not too loud. Sounds good. Let's check this next one. Stand on it, and we'll pull up the rack just in case we need to edit anything. That one is right here. Let me turn the volume up. I will pull the volume on this one down a little bit. And that's all the elements of the beat. Save it. Pull down the hat just a little bit. All right, I'm gonna check my monitors now and I'll make any adjustments and then explain after. All right, so I took my bass out of the bus. I didn't want it to be processed by the drum bus. I didn't like the saturation knob on it specifically. So I just took it out and I adjusted the volume accordingly because the drum bus is louder than it was previously. The drums are louder than they were before they went through the drum bus because of the compression, sorry. So I took that out of the bus and turned it up I turned down the hi-hats a bit, and I adjusted the level of these Don't Do It synth keys. And yeah, let's listen to it. I almost never get it right the first time, to be honest. So you would definitely come back, check it, and check it again. I believe today is day 17 of our 30-day marathon. It's all Couture, Kickback, and Cook Up.